Inquiry-based learning describes an environment in which learning is driven by a process of inquiry owned by the student.
Starting with a scenario and with the guidance of a facilitator, students identify their own issues and questions. They then examine the resources they need to research the topic, thereby acquiring the requisite knowledge. Knowledge so gained is more readily retained because it has been acquired by experience and in relation to a real problem. It is essential that students are educated for knowledge creation, lifelong learning and leadership. They will take on leading roles in their future working environments, directing change, asking important questions, solving problems and developing new knowledge.
Inquiry-based learning covers a spectrum of approaches such as problem-based learning, where exploration of a scenario drives the learning experience.
Also small-scale investigations where fieldwork or case studies are adapted to disciplinary contexts, and projects and research where research-based approaches aid the learning. We are going to look more closely at this when we investigate WebQuests as a means of inquiry-based learning. Learning is essentially student-centered, with an emphasis on group work and use of library, web and other information resources.
Teachers become facilitators, providing encouragement and support to enable the students to take responsibility for what and how they learn.
Students reach a point where they are not simply investigating questions posed by others, but can formulate their own research topics and convert that research into useful knowledge.
Students gain not only a deeper understanding of the subject matter, but also the knowledge development and leadership skills required for tackling complex problems that occur in the real world.
Fundamentally, students are more engaged with the subject. Learning is perceived as being more relevant to their own needs, thus they are enthusiastic and ready to learn. Inquiry-based learning allows students to develop a more flexible approach to their studies, giving them the freedom and the responsibility to organize their own pattern of work within the time constraints of the task. Self-directed learning not only develops key skills for postgraduate study, but also leads to original thought that contributes to larger research projects, papers and publications.
For teaching staff, developing an module helps to understand the learning process and the changing needs of students.
Why would using WebQuests be a good way to control inquiry-based learning?
A WebQuest is an inquiry-oriented activity in which some or all of the information that learners interact with comes from resources on the internet, optionally supplemented with video conferencing.
The instructional goal of a short-term WebQuest is knowledge acquisition and integration, described as Dimension 2 in Marzano's 1992, Dimensions of Thinking model. At the end of a short-term quest, a learner will have grappled with a significant amount of new information and made sense of it. A short-term quest is designed to be completed in 1 to 3 class periods.
The instructional goal of a longer-term quest is what Marzano calls Dimension 3, extending and refining knowledge. After completing a longer-term quest, a learner would have analyzed a body of knowledge deeply, transformed it in some way, and demonstrated an understanding of the material by creating something that others can respond to, online or off. A longer-term quest will typically take between 1 week and a month in a classroom setting.
Quests of either short or long duration are deliberately designed to make the best use of a learner's time. There is questionable educational benefit in having learners surfing the net without a clear task in mind, and most schools must ration student connect time severely.
To achieve that efficiency and clarity of purpose, WebQuests should contain at least the following parts: an introduction that sets the stage and provides some background information, a task that is doable and interesting, a set of information sources needed to complete the task. Many, though not necessarily all, of the resources are embedded in the WebQuest document itself as anchors pointing to information on the World Wide Web. Information sources might include web documents, experts available via email or real-time conferencing, searchable databases on the net, and books and other documents physically available in the learner's setting.
The process should be broken out into clearly described steps. This can take the form of guiding questions, or directions to complete organizational frameworks such as timelines, concept maps, or cause and effect diagrams as described by Marzano, 1988, 1992, and Clark, 1990. A conclusion that brings closure to the quest, reminds the learners about what they've learned, and perhaps encourages them to extend the experience into other domains. Thinking skills that a longer-term quest activity might require include these, from Marzano, 1992. 1. Comparing, identifying and articulating similarities and differences between things. 2. Classifying, grouping things into definable categories on the basis of their attributes. 3. Inducing, inferring unknown generalizations or principles from observations or analysis. 4. Deducing, inferring unstated consequences and conditions from given principles and generalizations.
5. Analyzing errors, identifying and articulating errors in one's own or others' thinking. 6. Constructing support, constructing a system of support or proof for an assertion. 7. Abstraction, identifying and articulating the underlying theme or general pattern of information.